So the internet is full of advice on how to be more productive, how to get more done in less time. And I think throughout my career, both in startups and in consulting agencies, I've probably tried all the available frameworks and methods on how to be more productive. And they were working for like a week or two, and I was like getting along a lot done. But then I've always felt that something is missing, and I was just getting rid of this method. And I knew the problem is not me not being consistent enough. Like my Duolingo streak is like 900 days at this point, so that was not the issue. The issue was that I was feeling that it's me trying to force and fit into a method rather than make this method work for me. And, for some people, all those like get things done, eat the frog, eat the ice cream, zero inbox, they work well, and that's cool. But personal productivity is personal. So that's why I would love to share with you the approach that helped me, that I've been using for more than a year now, that allows me to not only get done what's important, but also not feel burnt out and actually feel the ongoing joy and fulfillment rather than living like holiday to holiday. So I hope that's something for you. And who am I? Well, first of all, hi, I'm Agatha. Welcome to my channel, all about how to make your early career and work-life suck less. Like I said, throughout my career, I've worked in different high pace, how do you call it? High pressure, fast paced companies, huge FMCG brands, startup consulting agencies, and now I run my own business. And I've been, throughout this entire career, I've been thinking trying to figure out how can we make a more fulfilling, joyful career. And what I found out, I'm sharing here on this channel. So if that's something for you, welcome, and hit subscribe so that you always know when a new video is published. With that being said, back to the core episode. So what's this method that I that I found that allows me to get a lot done while still being joyful and avoiding burnout? It doesn't have a name. It's not like a trademark framework or whatever. So for the lack of catchy name, we can call it value-based planning. And if you're just like rolling your eyes being like, oh my god, it's like sounds like this grand ideas, like values, so then please stay, because that's one way to look at values. But the other thing is, and the approach that I would like to suggest to you now in this video, is that it's knowing what's important to you, being able to clearly specify that, and doing those daily choices that reflect those. So basically, knowing what's important for you and doing it. And what's so great about it is that, we all have a certain amount of energy during the day, and we do things that give us this energy and that take away this energy and drain us. And if we only focus on having those lists when you do this, but actually you don't know how they tie to what's important to you, or you don't focus on actually where you want to be, then of course in the longer I'm sorry, there's a storm in Berlin. Then of course it will be you will end up being unfulfilled in the longer run. So what I'd like you to take away from this video, like the first takeaway, is that the values don't have to be these grand ideas, grand concepts. It's actually about those day-to-day choices and applying them in real life. So and I think it would be the best to illustrate it on how I apply it. So it's 4 steps process. So first step is that every 3 to 6 months, I sit down and think about what's important for me in this time. Is it growing my business? Is it focusing more on my health and my daily habits? Is it finding a partner? Is it maintaining this or deepening this relationship, right? So what are the things that are the most important for me in this particular time? And it's not like a kind of task that you can do in between like dentist appointment and going grocery shopping. So really give yourself this 1 or 2 hours to really think about it, what's important for you. And once I have this written down, once I have actually reflected about it, then I go to step 2, which is looking at the values. And you can find online many different values lists. You can literally go to Google and type values lists, and then you will see a lot of A4 formatted lists where you have like 100 different words, they're usually alphabetically, of different values. You can look up in English. You can also look up in your mother tongue if that's not English. And from this list, like I said, it's about like 100 or more values written down. I narrowed down to 5 or 10, like between 5 and 10, that resonate the most with me. And I've also seen a lot of different methods where people would say, no, you have to narrow down to 4. No, you have to narrow down to 5. No, like you have to have 10. Honestly, whatever works for you. Like that's the gist. Like whatever works for you. If you want to focus on 5 most important values, cool. If you want to focus on 10, cool. Whatever works for you. So then I narrow down to this like 5 or 10 values. And what's important here is that there are no should values. It's only for you. Nobody will see it if you don't want to show it to anyone. Nobody will grade it. And what I mean by this is that we are conditioned to prefer certain values, right? Like this is a huge simplification. But for example, for men and women, it could be that they should be nurturing and they should like value family, and maybe they prefer independence or wealth. Doesn't mean that those have to be contradictory. Or for some men, maybe they would like to choose creativity or intimacy or sensitivity. And in this patriarchal society, they're conditioned to be like, no, we have to achieve and protect and and not be creative and sensitive or whatever. So that's what I mean with this like should values. It's for you. What helps me is that when I'm very like grounded and calm, it's just usually like you see this list and you can kind of feel like trust your gut feeling on that. And also those values can change. It's not like it's set in stone and you have to choose those and never change, because we change, our life change. So that's why I said I do it every 3 to 6 months, because my priorities might change. And so do the values that are the most important for me in this moment. And when I have this narrowed down list, I go to point number 3, which is I check those goals that I wrote for myself with those value lists and whether there's some friction here. So, for example, if I say that my goal is to start my own business and I chose the value of stability, then maybe there's a friction here. Like, starting your business is amazing, but stability is not what's happening there. Or you would say that your goal is to find a romantic partner or start a family, but your core value is independence. Like, there's also a little bit of mismatch here. So this is like this is like a great invitation to be honest with yourself and think, actually, is this really your goal or is this someone else's goal? But that's outside of the scope of this video, so I leave this for your private reflection. But once those goals with values are aligned, I go to step number 4, which is thinking what those values even mean. Because these are like big words. Like, for example, freedom for me might mean something else than freedom for you. And I look at them in long term and short term. So long term, actually one of my core values is freedom. So for me, it was quitting my day job and starting my business. But that's something that doesn't happen overnight. Like I prepared for it, and this was like a longer term decision. But there are also things that you can do short term, and that's actually where we're going to this gist of this video and actually this weekly planning. So knowing those values, how can I plan my week to include them? So, and again, it can mean different things for different people. For example, like I said, one of my core values is freedom. So for me, this means freedom to choose who I work with. I don't work with clients who disrespect my time, who don't show up on calls, which hasn't always been like back when I was employed. I didn't have that much choice, and now I have, and I really appreciate it. Another thing is spaciousness in my day. I know I have some of my colleagues who structure their day to the max. Like they have their calendar and they would write, here I'm doing groceries, here I'm reading emails, here I'm doing something. And for some people it works perfectly. For me, it just gives me anxiety because I need this freedom and spaciousness in my calendar. And I still know what I'm supposed to do. I just cannot have everything like visualized in my calendar because it just creeps me out. So that's like a practical way of looking at this value. Like another one for me, it's connection. I'm a solo business founder, and that means that to have this connection in working context, I need to actively do it. So I always make sure to have planned some co-working session or going to co-working space or scheduling some lunch or working session with my friends and so on. So that I know that this need for connection, this value of connecting with other people is fulfilled, or going to networking events every now and then. So just knowing that that's important for me and that I make time for this. And, with all this planning, so how it works in practice is that every Monday morning, on Sunday evening, depending how I'm feeling, I look at the list of these like 10 values that I wrote down, and I have them there on my desk, close to my desk, and I look at them and think like, okay, so which ones I can fulfill this week and how? And it's sometimes I have those great weeks that are filled with growth, freedom, joy, beauty, connection, all of this, and then and it's amazing. But it's also about being realistic. Of course, not every week will be like this, where you have a chance to fulfill all of those. But even being intentional about it and seeing that, oh, okay, like I'm feeling a little bit frustrated and like bitter, looking at those lists, okay, what has been missing? And then I would be, oh, okay, so I've been so focusing on my business and like growing this offers or whatever that I haven't really took time for joy or for my hobbies, and now it's like time to make up for it, or for connection, like I haven't met up with my friends for a while, and so on and so forth. So this also gives this like great checkpoints if something is actually missing out, so you can spot it earlier before you feel very burnt out. And that's why also I've seen some of like the business leaders who would hear about those methods like zero inbox, get things done, and then they would force it on their employees, being like, I've seen the lights, like I know this works and all of you have to use it. And it just doesn't work this way. Maybe for them it works and cool, but for you it doesn't. Maybe for you it doesn't, and that's also cool. Same with this method. I think what's working for me here is this, it's still very personal, and how I look at values would be different for you. So that's why I'm happy to share it with you, and I really encourage you to play around and try to make it your own. And if you do, let me know.